welcome back to the PT on Ice Daily Show from the Institute of Clinical Excellence. My name is Guillermo Contreras, TA for the Fitness Athlete Division as well as the Modern Management, the Older Adult Division. If you're interested at all in taking a course in the Fitness Athlete, Clinical Management of the Fitness Athlete Essential Foundation starts up again on July 16th. Some spots still open, so if you have been considering jumping on that or in your practice or clinical setting you see fitness athletes or want to work with fitness athletes, definitely jump on that and sign up for that on ptonice.com. Yeah, that's the website. So today, guys, we're talking about working in a clinical setting where you might be sharing patients with other clinicians and how we work together with those clinicians who may not be fitness forward as far as their mindset goes, as far as their treatment strategy, the way they work with individuals. So me personally, not only do my wife and I own our own little doc in a box practice where we do all CrossFit athletes and kind of weightlifting, powerlifting, anything like that, but we also both work inside of outpatient clinics as well, where we see more general population. We see Medicare, older population. We see younger individuals, workers' comp, everything outside of there. And most of those individuals do not prescribe to the fitness world, or a lot of them do not. And especially CrossFit, a lot of them don't do CrossFit. If they do exercise, it's kind of here and there doing things at a local gym, but CrossFit is not their thing. So no matter what patient I see personally, whether they be a 60-year-old, 70-year-old, 40-year-old, or 12-year-old, I'm trying to always approach them in a way that allows me to pursue a fitness-forward approach. So that's using weights such as kettlebells, dumbbells, even heavy resistance bands, using box squats, using deadlifts, heavy carries, things like that to help promote not only improving some tissue resilience, improving overall capacity, and injury risk reduction in some way for them, but also just improving the overall wellness, improving the fitness level in some way. So using kind of the just recumbent bike with some sprint intervals to kind of get their heart rate up, to improve over like some cardiovascular fitness, to promote some blood flow and some flushing of maybe some sites in their body. They might be a little bit more swollen or inflamed, things like that. And also what we see is using kind of high intensity intervals to create a little bit of an analgesic effect. So reducing pain by just getting them tired, fatigued, and creating some releases of some different things in their bodies that allows them to sleep better at night. There's a lot of really cool science behind it. I am not the guy to eloquently talk about that research because I read things a couple times and I still can't say it well, but trust me, it's out there, and by all means reach out to Alan. I'm sure he can give you all the research you need on what I'm talking about here. But specifically, I want to talk about when you are a clinician like myself, where you want to try and take a fitness forward approach, where you want to use squats, deadlifts, and load to treat individuals, but you have coworkers or co-clinicians in the clinic with you who maybe you share a patient caseload with, or they see some of your patients here and there if you are gone for a week, or for example, I'm only in the clinic 3 days a week, so maybe a patient of mine has to come in on a Friday and I'm not there on a Friday, so another therapist sees them, and maybe that therapist is not fitness forward practicing. So how do we handle that caseload? How do we work with that individual, especially if they are not about it at all? They don't like the idea of it. They don't really see the point of loading, and not only that, but they are of the mindset where if they are not moving in a way that they would deem perfect or faultless, they do not want them using any type of heavy load, any type of resistance, and they focus more on things like posture and movement quality and kind of engaging midline and core and things like that. So how do we work with our coworkers? How do we properly do that in a way that's respectful, that actually helps promote the relationship between you and the patient more than anything, but also foster a really good relationship, a working relationship with you and your coworker? And first and foremost, the most important thing I think in these kind of settings is making sure that no matter what you feel, no matter how they feel, no matter what your relationship is or what you believe is, you want to maintain that really strong therapeutic alliance between you, the other clinician, and the patient. The worst thing that you can do is basically talk bad or talk poorly about another clinician in the clinic, because it doesn't work well, right? If you have a patient that you're using squats or deadlifts with and you're using these things, and another therapist is doing a lot of postural things and breathing, which is, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, there's a place for it as well. But sometimes if it's all they do and they focus on that, and they really harp on movement quality and looking perfect and doing things a specific way, and they never actually give someone tools to improve strength and function and all these other things, you don't want to say like, oh, well, they just don't know what they're doing, they just do things wrong. Like, yeah, they're super old school, they just haven't really learned how to do things the way I do it, right? That's like the worst thing you can do, because not only does it change the way that that patient sees that PT, and an individual that is still a professional, that's still your coworker, that is still helping people get better. Like, you don't keep working in PT unless you have some positive outcomes, right? So you want to make sure that you're maintaining that really strong therapeutic alliance and say, you know what, yeah, they do things a little bit differently than I do. They work a little differently. They focus on some different things, but our goal as a team is to help you get better, help you improve quality of life, help you stay independent, and whatever you want to say, but make sure you keep it in a positive light, ensuring that that patient feels comfortable working with you as well as them, and that they see benefit either way. Because you also don't want to kind of hurt the profession as a whole by saying like, yeah, well, these therapists, they're over here, they don't know what they're doing. Us on this side of the wall or whatever, we know what we're doing. We're really good at what we do, but there's only a few of us. All the rest are really bad. So you don't want to give the profession that bad of a light or shine it. But again, what you want to do is you want to follow it up, where you can have a conversation, right? And this is where the important stuff comes in, where you have that discussion with your coworker, where if there is a patient you're working together with and you see their documentation versus your documentation, and you have a plan of care and you're trying to progress certain things, and then they see your patient, or you guys, your patient together, and you see that they're not doing anything that you kind of been working on or progressing, and they're actually even dialing things back and saying, oh, you know what, this is too much weight, you shouldn't be doing this. Have that conversation, right? You need to have that really strong professional relationship with your coworker to be able to say, hey, so I noticed with Judy the other day, you tended to take away some of these things. Is there something you saw that maybe I didn't see? What kind of was your reasoning for that? You want to make sure you create that open dialogue with that person, where they feel comfortable coming to you and saying like, listen, I just don't feel comfortable loading someone with a heavy squat. I don't feel comfortable loading with a heavy deadlift. And you're like, okay, cool. That I get that. And then you can have that open dialogue conversation of, okay, what can we do, or how can I maybe dial in some things for you when you see them on a Friday and I'm seeing them on a Tuesday or a Monday or whatever it is. How can we work so we ensure that this patient gets the best outcome and has the best treatment, versus this kind of ebb and flow of getting more weight, less weight, things like that. So first and foremost, again, right, so therapeutic alliance, having that really open conversation, being able to talk to that coworker of yours. And then the one thing that I struggle with a lot is ensuring that this is, I mean, everybody's favorite thing, right? Documentation. When you're documenting your therapy sessions, are you writing, okay, they did a deadlift from an 8-inch box deficit with a wider than shoulder width stance. They did 4 sets of 6 reps with 35 pounds and about 90 seconds rest in between. Are you being that descriptive, or is it 3x8, 35 pounds, and just elevated DL, right? Are you using unapproved abbreviations, which I am very guilty of, throwing RDLs and writing EMOMs and AMRAPs and things like that in there when I treat patients in that fashion. And I'll have coworkers who maybe they see one patient one time, and they're like, hey, I saw you had EMOM. What does that mean? And I'm like, oh, shoot. Sorry, that's every minute on minute. It's kind of like an interval, and I kind of explain it to them. But I've had it. I do it. We use Epic at where we work, so now I have it autocorrect where I write EMOM. It switches to every minute on the minute, and then I kind of edit it more. But make sure that your documentation, which, like I said, is always everybody's favorite, you really are descriptive in that. So not only saying what they did, how they did it, maybe the tempo they used, the rest they took, but also even like a little blurb about why they did it. So like if they're doing a deadlift from an 8-inch deficit or an elevated surface and they're using 35 pounds, you can even say like, okay, performed sumo deadlift from 8-inch deficit, whatever it is, and then you say performed in order to improve patient's functional capacity for lifting soil, lifting dog food, cat food from ground, right? So then when you're the therapist who maybe doesn't do the fitness forward approach sees it, they can say, oh, okay, I get what they're doing this, why they are doing this. Maybe I do a 12-inch deficit because I feel more comfortable seeing their movement pattern from that height versus a lower height. So again, what can you do yourself to ensure that that relationship is stronger with you and your coworker who's maybe sharing a patient with you, who does not have that fitness forward mindset or approach, right? Make it easy for them to see why you're doing what you're doing and understand what you're doing. Another thing I've done in my clinic is some in-services. So I've done one where I actually talked about REMOMs, rehab EMOMs, and discussed about how they can be used in order to improve not only strength and mobility and kind of mixing things up and switching rest intervals and working intervals, but also talking about how improving overall fitness level can help individuals just get stronger. The goal this year is for me to do a 1 Rep Max Living workshop, which again, you have some free resources through the ICE website where you can put on your own 1 Rep Max Living workshop for your clinic if it's something you want to do. But again, just doing a REMOM one, a quick 15 to 30 minute one where you just talk about how you can use fitness strategies and to make their home program more interactive, to make their clinic time more interactive, more enjoyable, something that they're really engaged in and kind of keep moving. And then again, always modify for whoever you have. Age or experience doesn't matter. You can always mix it in some way, increase rest intervals, decrease work intervals, whatever you need to do to ensure that that individual is getting better. Play around with those and kind of teach your coworkers, especially if you have a lot of people who don't buy into what you're doing, what it is you do and why it benefits the patients not only in the immediate time while they're in the clinic, but also in the long run after they graduated from their plan of care. And the last thing I'm going to say is the most important thing you can do when you have a lot of clinicians or a few clinicians, whatever, that you treat with or share a clinic space with, is you got to lead by example. You don't hide what you're doing. Don't go into a treatment room and have the timer going and being like, I don't want them to think I'm doing something weird or anything like that. Get out there. Have your patients, no matter how old, whether they're 70, 80, they got a 4-wheel walker and they can barely walk, right? Give them the kettlebell, give them some weight, have them squat to a 24-inch box and then lower it by height. You'd be shocked and surprised, and also kind of like almost, it's really encouraging, because what I've actually had other clinicians in my clinic where they've seen me doing these uncommon or unconventional ways of treatment, where I'm doing squats, I'm doing suitcase deadlifts and suitcase carries, I'm loading up a 4-wheel walker with the brakes on with 60, 70 pound kettlebell on top, and having my elderly lady patient push it up and down. We have turf in our facility. Nobody uses the turf for what it's used for. We have a sled which nobody uses, but I made a makeshift sled with her walker and have her push that up and down the turf with load, right? These are things that you can do where when people see that, they're like, man, what are they doing? Like, what is that? And like, that lady shouldn't be doing that, I don't think. But then they see that these people get better, that they're engaged, that they're enjoying themselves, that they're sweating, but they're not upset. They enjoy being there, right? So lead by example. Show them how you treat. And what happens is then all of a sudden you're going to have one of your coworkers be like, hey, I had my lady just start doing these deadlifts from a 12-inch box, and her back feels awesome. It feels fantastic. She has like, we've been doing everything. I've been trying this, I've been trying that. And all I did was load her up and then worked on some hinge pattern stuff with a band and then gave her a kettlebell. And she said her back feels better than it has in years, right? You don't have to be the voice, and you don't have to take someone's patient to show these fitness forward things. But when people notice what you're doing, like I said, they take notice and they start trying these things. They start dabbling in it, right? They don't have to be experts at it, but grabbing a kettlebell and doing a goblet squat is not something super scary. You can do that to a pretty high box. Lifting something off of a box is something we teach all the time. That's like lifting mechanics, right? But then just take away the box, give them something heavier, and let them get stronger and let them work harder. And all of a sudden, people really buy into those things. And your coworkers, whether they are old school or not, a lot of times we'll see that. We'll see your outcomes. We'll see the patients are enjoying themselves, like being at therapy a lot, and are getting better. And they kind of get that little bit of curious bug and want to come in. The best example I have is I have a coworker who is in her 60s who always kind of had these questions and kind of was always wondering, like, why am I loading my patients up? Why am I using weights? Why am I doing this versus focusing on like direct quad work or things like that? And then after about a year and a half of working with her, she signed up for the Clinical Management of the Fitness Athlete Live course. She drove down from up here in Wisconsin. She drove down to Chicago, got to work out with Zach Long on the first day of the course, and she's implementing these things. I see her all the time doing suitcase carries and suitcase deadlifts, and even just kind of like goblet carries to kind of work on that midline. She's doing more compound movements as well as still doing some isolated work too. But just really cool things, the way that no matter if you work with someone who has that open mind, who wants to continue to improve their clinical skill set and wants to get better, just you leading by example is the most important thing, right? So always create that therapeutic alliance. Most importantly, right? Always ensure that you're carrying a therapeutic alliance, that you're not bashing another coworker, and that the patient believes in them as much as they believe in you. Have that open conversation, have open dialogue. Make sure you can have those conversations and don't close yourself off. Document better than you normally would, especially if you know you have a coworker that's going to be working with a patient and has no idea what a deadlift might be. And lastly, lead by example, right? Right, is it right here? Oh, coincidentally wore that. Be about it. Make sure you're leading by example. Treat the way that you feel is best, and it's going to be this full fitness forward thing. Don't hide. Let yourself be someone that like kind of shows people certain different things, and people will take notice and hopefully jump on it as well. Cool? Awesome, guys. Thanks for tuning in again. This is Monday, right? So enjoy your Monday, enjoy your week, and for anyone yesterday, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Have a great day, guys.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.